Hey everybody, Ryan here with Ray's Latest, and today we have a lot to talk about. And we're going to start it out with the Brandon Lau, Jake Mangum, and Montgomery trade to the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is kind of a shocker to me. 'Cause I've been kind of saying recently a lot that I truly do believe that Brandon Lau would get traded this offseason. I know it's every offseason, it's oh well, he's being shopped around and never actually does get traded. But him being on the last year of his contract this year, I truly did believe that he would get traded somewhere. But I didn't really think that it would come for three big leaguers for two prospects. Um, and that kind of shocked me because I'm really am a big fan of Jake Mangum, and I do think Montgomery, being a lefty that throws 103 miles an hour, sure he does have some control issues and he's got some really bad inconsistency issues, but the stuff's there. And getting two prospects in return for Lau, Mangum, and Montgomery is surely it's kind of head scratching when you truly think about it, when you look at it on paper. But in return, getting Jacob Melton, which is the really the only one that I care about, I think he's going to be an everyday big leaguer opening day on. I truly do believe that. I think that he's got some great power at the plate. I mean, his highest exit velocity last season was 113 miles an hour. Hard hit percentage is around 60% of every time he makes contact, and it's really it's he's an intriguing bat, and he's got plus speed in the outfield, plus jumps on the ball. He's a plus outfielder, plus hitter. I think it's a good addition. And do I think realistically, I think that giving away Lau and then kind of looking at it as of that's more of a contract salary dump and looking at it more as a Mangum and Montgomery straight up for Brito and Melton, it seems a little more reasonable. The reason why I say this is because I think that Melton has all the potential in the world to be better than Mangum is. And I think that we're going to kind of see him on the opening day roster game one. I think we're going to see him on the 40 man day one. I think he's going to start opening day. I truly do believe that. And Brito is kind of one of those, would kind of say he's more of a piece to work on. He was in single A this past season. His fastball's 100 plus. He's got good depth on his breaking ball. He's got a plus changeup. He had 65 strikeouts and 49 in a third innings last year in high A, and he's just 21. So it's kind of more of a project piece, I think, from his perspective. And I don't necessarily know if that maybe the Rays had kind of just given up on Montgomery and don't really think that he's going to be able to fix what he's doing wrong. And I do think that at the end of the day, it's not the worst trade in the world solely because of the Shane Baz trade that happened 30 minutes later, where we traded away Shane Baz for four of the Orioles' top 30 prospects and a first round competitive balance pick. So it's one of those things because you get Slater DeBron, Caden Bodine, who I've played against multiple times. He's a fantastic player, switch hitting catcher, plus power, one of the best receivers I've ever seen in my entire life behind the plate. Michael Forret and Austin Overn, who are all plus prospects with a lot of great potential. So it's one of those things where you see a trade like that to the Pirates, and then you turn around 30 minutes later and trade away Boz for four top 30 prospects and a first round draft pick. And then you're kind of like, okay, now necessarily, what is Neander kind of doing here? And theoretically, as a Rays fan, you would like to think that it's, oh, we're just building up a prospect pool to go get Ketel Marte, which I wouldn't be opposed at because looking at it now, we don't have a second baseman unless you move Carson Williams to second base. I you don't necessarily have one unless or Richie Palacios. You don't necessarily have a second baseman. So either going out and getting a second baseman in Marte with that prospect haul that you kind of just got for Boz and kind of just trying to build up that way is one of those things where I'm not necessarily opposed against because I truly do think I think giving away Boz for four top 30 prospects and a first round draft pick is just you can't say no to that pick or that trade because Boz has been hit or miss. There'll be games where he looks like the best pitcher in baseball, and then games where he's the worst pitcher in baseball. And I think it's one of those things where it's just the consistency was never there, and it has never been there since his time at a big league level for the Rays. So I think getting those four prospects and a first round pick in return for him is just a no brainer. You have to take that deal with any organization in baseball, in my opinion. So I think it's a great trade for the Boz trade. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole Lau situation, giving away Mangum and Montgomery for two prospects, which I don't think Melton's necessarily a prospect. I think he's going to be an opening day starter. So it's kind of just one big leaguer for three big leaguers and kind of a project piece from a bullpen perspective in Brito. So and Melton and Brito, respectively, were the number one and number three prospects in the Astros organization as well. So you get six top 30 prospects for, in return, retrospectively, four big leaguers, with Mangum Montgomery being rookies this past season, and Boz kind of just being hit or miss at a big league level. So it's interesting. And we also claimed Osvaldo Bido off of waivers from the Braves this week as well. So you see the kind of the pitching prospects and the pitching acquisitions that we're trying to get. And I don't necessarily know if that's kind of I know the Diamondbacks are kind of looking heavily for prospect starting pitching and things of that nature. So if we're kind of leaning towards the Cattell Marte with the prospects, I think it would make a lot more sense if that deal ever gets done of what was going on. And I think if that deal doesn't get done, I think it's going to be a little more questionable. Like, hey, what the heck were we doing here, giving away Mangum and Montgomery, especially as well? So we'll see kind of where the Marte situation kind of translates from there. But Neander came out and said this week as well. Said so Friday's deals were I think more about losing a little bit in 26 to gain an awful lot as we look into the future. So, looking at that from just a pure wording perspective, it sounds like a rebuild. That's what it sounds like. But realistically, I don't think that it is because I think that especially with the Cattell Marte addition, if we kind of go down that route, the Rays have one of the best infields in all of baseball with Aranda, Caminero, Marte, if that happens, and Walls and Williams at at shortstop, with Cedric Mullins, Chandler Simpson, Melton, Josh Lowe. And it's kind of like you look at that lineup, and then the rotation kind of spans out as Matz, McClanahan, Rasmussen, Pepio. I mean, outside looking in, I would take that into an opening day roster every season. And it's one of those things where the Rays always have a problem with manufacturing runs. And I think that if you can get the key pieces in place to manufacture runs, I think that the slow downplay of our pen, which I do think I've reiterated this hundreds of times, especially on this podcast, is I think the bullpen just gets tired. And I think that towards the end of the season every year, it's kind of you have the guys like Fairbanks, and then you had Jason Adam, and then you had guys like that, Montgomery and Uceta. Once they get towards the end of the season, you kind of see a slight decline in production just solely because they've been used 3-4 days a week. And it's just, you can't have that problem, especially when you reach late August and September baseball. And I think that the addition of key starting pitching to kind of be able to expand longer in games to get to 6 and 7 and 8 inning starts and kind of give your bullpen rest days and not have to use bullpen days every fifth day of the week because you can't find a fifth starter. I think that all entails just one big circle, just never ending loop that has always just screwed the Rays in the long run. And I think that if Tampa can figure out the back end of the starting rotation, get three nails, Griffin Jacks, Uceta, get three guys in the back end of that bullpen that are just fantastic, that can just, you get the eighth, you get the ninth, go close it out. And that's kind of what you had with Fairbanks. And that's what you kind of going to need, I think, with Griffin Jacks, especially, I think is going to kind of lead towards that closer role at the beginning of the season, especially. I think that it's just, if you can manufacture runs and you can do that from a pitching perspective, you're going to be okay. And I think that people are kind of overreacting with the fact that they're trading away Lau and Mangum was just, you're selling the house and getting away Boz. You're selling the house to rebuild, especially with mainly prospect pool in return. But you also clear up $14 million in cap space that you can use to go get somebody else if you would wanted to. And so you got to think of, actually it's more than 14 million. Boz is getting paid 3 million, Lau's 12, Mangum Montgomery are league minimum. So it's around $16 million, 17 million that you cleared up. Go get a guy. If you have $17 million in cap space, you can pay Marte's contract for the next 3 years. He's on a very club-friendly contract for the level of player he is. And I mean, sure, you're going to have to give up players to get him. But at the end of the day, like, I get it. Aranda's young. Caminaro's young. Simpson's young. You have a very young core. McClanahan's still in his 20s. Rasmussen is fairly young as well. Pepio's fairly young. You have a young core. Build on it a little bit. And I think that with the prospect hauls that we've been getting, they are building on it at the end of the day. But I also think that it has something to do with, you can win now. And I think Neander knows that you can win now. And I truly do believe that it's like two pieces away from fielding one of the best lineups in baseball. And I truly do mean that. Because you have Simpson at the top. You go out and get Marte. You slot him in the 2. Caminaro's in the 3. Diaz, Aranda, 4-5. Probably Aranda in the 5. Diaz in the Aranda in the 4. Diaz in the 5 to get the split with the right, left, right. And then you have, I would say Fortes would probably slot in that 8 range. Cedric Mullins would probably hit 6th or 7th. Lau, Melton would go 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, kind of wherever you fit in there. And then you have Walls and Williams that would also kind of slot in however you kind of want to do that. Because, I mean, with Walls obviously being a switch hitter, you can kind of switch him to the 9 spot and kind of mix around the left-right matchups and things of that nature. But looking at it on paper, that's a pretty good lineup. And then you have McClanahan, Rasmussen, Pepio, Matz in a rotation. You get one guy at that back end 5 spot, go get Zach Littell. Go get him. Put him at your 4. Put him at your 5 in the rotation. Eat innings at a very high level. You're not going to have anything to complain about. So you guys let me know what you guys think about all these trades. I know it's a lot. It's a lot happened over the past couple days. And please let me know what you guys think about them, and also what you think about kind of what the lineup in the rotation looks like heading into 2026, and kind of seeing if there's anything that you guys would necessarily want to see from a signing or a trade perspective, along with the Marte kind of rumors and buzz with all the prospect haul kind of trying to go and get him. Please let me know what you guys think about that, and you guys have a great one.